The city is finally starting to feel alive. There's prosperity, people settling in, markets popping up to take advantage of it. But places don't feel real just because they're busy. They feel real when they start to show layers, a past, a history that lingers. Hello everyone, welcome to Lapis City. I'm over here in the southern region of the city where some new markets have opened up, fountains too. This one made of glass to give more of a splash effect. These villagers running the markets are selling artisan goods, draft drinks, seeds, and some breads and baked goods as well. Also here in the ground I set up goods being sold. From my experience of going to New York City quite often, they have these street vendors selling things sometimes, and sometimes they'll lay their goods out on the floor in front of them, which is where I got that idea from. Over in the northern section of the city is another market installation. This one contains a meat market, bookstore, and bakery. I made sure to preserve the train peeking through this gap. It adds like a distance effect that I really love. Oh, hello there, Mr. Villager. Before we continue to build up this city, we need to clear out some land for one more row of buildings I want to add just next to the side of the train. All of the plots are now prepared. I think it's around 4 plots, but around 14 buildings in total. These will be residential buildings mainly, with some shops on the first level, and some neat details here and there, which should look awesome. French City has come a long way these past few episodes. What started as a few builds has spread into streets, districts, every wall, every detail crafted and placed, block by block. I didn't realize it at the time, but supplies have slowly started to dwindle. Sandstone, birch, the foundations of this city. So I head out. I've returned with lots of sandstone, a full shulker to be exact, which should be all I need for now. Sandstone is one of the base blocks for all of these buildings. I will need some birch, but I have plenty around here. The plan is building up this entire street side with tall buildings. I know European cities have skinny streets sometimes in their cities, which is what I'm aiming for here. And there also will be a row right in front of the markets down there. I really want to bunch up this place with buildings so it feels like a bustling city, but without wasting any more time, let the building commence. As I build this, I want to talk about the lack of uploads recently. I promise I am back on schedule now and for a while. The past month I've been super busy moving back into college for this semester, as well as spending more time going out and doing things with friends from home. Basically, I just took some time off to avoid burnout so I can be ready both for school and uploads for the next couple months. I was actually at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City last week. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it was really cool. I've been to the Natural History Museum before, but this is my first time at the Met. The art there is crazy, man. Every room is like a story in its own. And I was a little fried when I was there, so it was like so surreal. Moral of the story, the upload schedule is back to normal, so expect major advancements to the hardcore world all throughout this year, especially to the French city, because you guys tend to like these builds, and I love building them, which is great. I feel like I get better at this style with every build, which is really all building is. You just have to do it more to get better at it. I only started learning building around 10 months ago. I just practice a lot. Like detailing is just experimenting with different blocks until you find an outcome. If only I could transfer these skills to redstone. Anyways, let's finish this French-style residential building as there's a lot of work to do this episode to make up for my lack of uploads recently. I'm pretty sure this is the most detailed build in this city so far and might be my favorite yet because this one really tells a story when you look at it because there's so much going on and the smoke just adds emotion effect to the whole build. I want this city to feel crowded, like there's a lot going on everywhere you look, and I think I represented that well in this build. All the birch signs are meant to be like brick stones you'd see on that limestone look French city buildings are made of. I tried a few different things with this build, like the balconies with the plants, and also lots of shelf use like usual for texturing. Top 5 block, by the way. I'll probably fill this back area with more details, but for now let's get a distant shot of this and then continue on with the building because there's 2 more sections to do as we slowly continue to bring this city to life. But first, to the Dutch city because there's a few things I need, one of those being my wealth, as most of my emerald stash is there, and with all these villagers, I would like to start trading them up to master, even though they're bound to die eventually because of my open villager policy, but who cares, I can just breed more. I prefer my villagers running around now that I really only need them for levels and food, as it makes me feel less lonely around here. Also in the Dutch city, I want to gather whatever leftover sandstone and woods I have in the sewer because these builds in Lapis are pretty big, so I burn through materials every single time practically. If you're new, this is Struedsville, my Dutch-style city, and the first Dillesdoog establishment of this hardcore world. However, now that I'm building up the French city, this place has been pretty dead recently, and I really only come here to siphon materials here and there. Headed back to Lapis, it's time we start the second set of buildings. These will be more consumer-based with cafes and shops inside. Let's go and do it. Figured I'd set up some interiors for these shops. I set up a cafe, bakery, and clothing store in this section, so I might as well refurbish them. These are all villager-owned establishments, so there will be a shopkeeper in each that I can trade with for goods or levels, let's say. This city is really becoming self-sufficient thanks to my sugarcane farm and the train station, so things around here are getting a lot easier as the economy continues to grow. this section of the build is now complete. Once again, I'm trying to put in as much detail as possible so it feels like a city. I also tried to change the block style a little with the building details so it didn't look too similar to the first build. There are a ton of bikes here now that I built to fill in some space, and also 2 more parked sports cars at the front of the build, I guess owned by some rich villagers or something. Once again, more bikes here. These are meant to be like city bikes you can rent out if you know what I mean. And I tried something new here with this tree. I made it dripping honey from a hive into a bowl, almost like it's being harvested. Neat little touch. And once again, more atmospheric smoke hanging over. Here's a closer look at each interior. You can see I kind of got lazy with each one, but I'm more of an exterior guy anyway. I mean, most people are. There are 3 more buildings left in this section to complete Western Lapis so far, and once again I plan on making these lively with shops and such, so let's get to building. So the third row of buildings is complete. I still think the first set we did was my favorite, but let me go through this one here. These are also meant to be like little shops like the last set we did. I also made these taller than the others so it didn't seem like the whole row was the same height. And of course I had to have more smoke being released. I'm loving these chimneys. They definitely elevate the build in terms of scale and such. I didn't build any interiors in these, so if you have any interior ideas, please feel free to let me know. I love putting in suggestions that I see in the comments, and they're super helpful overall. However, I don't think we're going to get to do the 4th set of buildings today over by the markets we made earlier, which is fine. We did build a lot today, so we'll have to save that for the next episode. However, before we end this episode, I want to do a short little final cinematic of the city so far so you can see all the progress made these past few weeks. That's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you so much for your support if you stayed this far. It really means a lot. Once again, I promise I am back on my regular upload schedule, so no more 3-week waits for now, I swear. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope all the progress done this episode makes up for that. And if you want to support me or contact me, you can always subscribe, and my Discord will be in the description like usual. Once again, if you're liking this French style, please give me recommendations. The restaurant idea was a recommendation, which I think is really cool. I like the fact that we can work together on this through idea sharing and such. Next episode, I plan on building out the last set of buildings, as well as making more of an aesthetic portal entrance. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and bye.